All right, you guys, welcome to another episode of the Think Bigger podcast. Each episode is about our lives and our life experience and the things that we go through, things that we need to think about, ways that we can expand and grow as people. And every once in a while, there is an event or a person that comes into focus and is a powerful motivator. And there are examples from the way that they said and did things in their lives, their example that they set that really hits people in a way that becomes memorable, that becomes legendary, okay? And so this episode is dedicated to all of the people that passed away in the terrible crash. And we're going to talk specifically about Kobe Bryant and his daughter that passed away, dedicated to everyone and them, of course, who passed away. And what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about this effect that this person had, okay? You know, for those people who are into basketball, it goes without saying. But even for people who don't really watch sports in general, or maybe just not basketball, right? It's still impossible to not see the devastation in people from other sports and other parts of the community, other athletes, celebrities, children, youth, etc. The waves, right, of sadness and shock, etc. And there's a reason for that, you know? There's a reason for that. And it isn't just because of his name and people without really stopping for a moment to figure out what goes into that name, especially those who aren't basketball fans. That's kind of one of the things that we're going to talk about here because, you know, one of the pillars of the Think Bigger project as a brand and as a movement and the Think Bigger podcast, one of those things that I'm always talking about is a foundation for this change in the way that we think is passion, drive, and focus. You guys have seen that logo on different apparel drops and on the bomber jacket that's out right now. That's pretty much the best seller. But you know, the pillars, 3 pillars: passion, drive, and focus. For the regular listeners and people that have been supporting the project and the podcast for a long time now, those words are quite normal. That's a normal thing to hear brought up. But what we have here is a tragedy, a terrible incident in which there is light and positivity to draw from that, because it always takes something major in our lives to wake us up, right? We have to have something grab us by the shoulders and shake us by our shirt collar, you know, and kind of just, you know, smack you around. Because if you don't consciously move through this life, if you don't consciously take your steps and control your thoughts and have goals and dedication towards what you're trying to execute, you know, time goes away. You know, time just ticks. And then all of a sudden it's something like a death within our families, our communities, closer social circle, or then something like this, a name and a figure that pretty much passed all boundaries. And worldwide, globally, you just have people messed up, you know. It's been many days already, you know. It's been over a week. But it's still fresh to so many people. And, you know, they just started cleaning up at Staples, you know, the memorial that people built. But what is the point of all this, okay? You know, we're dedicating this episode to all 9 people who passed away, but we're going to draw the positive out of this, okay? It's always about passion, drive, and focus. And Kobe is an example an extreme, hardcore, and subsequently legendary example of that thought process, that dedication, and the Mamba mentality that everyone talks about. You can see the hashtag, you can look it up, you can read about it. For those of you that weren't so into the sports angle of it, maybe you'll have to read about it. But what you're seeing, the quotes, the statements made from other people from all walks of life, and celebrities and other athletes from other sports and other countries, etc., etc., etc. What you are hearing about, what you read about, what you realize is that his legacy, how people remember him, it's not so much about the accomplishments as it was his work ethic. Everyone will say that man worked harder than anyone else, and subsequently inspired them to work harder than they did before. His legacy of greatness was, in the end, almost more about how much of a loving father he was. And he was on a helicopter with his daughter. And the other people, the family that were on there, they were on there together. And we're going to get to why Kobe was on the helicopter in a moment for those who don't know. But the point is that you're looking at a legacy of greatness. First of all, many people will be remembered. Not everyone will have a legacy. Legends, a legacy, being a legend, that comes from somewhere, okay? So where does it come from? And his legacy of greatness comes from the Mamba mentality, the mindset. The Think Bigger project is named as such because it's all about mindset and the way that people think. And once you change that, once you open that, you can do so much more. And I believe that very deeply. And one of the people, just growing up for myself as a kid, that I got to watch and see was Kobe, the Lakers. I'm from Southern California, so I was a Lakers fan. But, it just ends up working out in that case because I was tuned in. When I could, when I did, I watched. And so I saw it. I'm not a bystander in the sense of I'm just kind of reading and learning from a fourth party type perspective. No, I saw this firsthand. But what we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about this Mamba mentality and how that is effectively and essentially the mentality of the Think Bigger project, what it promotes, okay? Because the most important thing that I always believe that needs to be retained in it all is the work. And here is a man who's remembered for his work ethic. Okay? You guys, I know it's redundant. I bring it up all the time. But there's this disconnect still with people who keep thinking it's about passion. Even here, he loved the game of basketball. No, nobody's remembering him because he loved the game of basketball, because there's a lot of people who love the game of basketball, who live and breathe their work and their sport, their whatever it is that they're doing with their lives. They love it, right? But what he keeps being brought up as is being someone so dedicated and so driven and so focused, with a work ethic that was so powerful and eyes on the prize, mentality, so focused that anything around him that tried to affect that focus and that determination would even irritate him. Okay? And we talk about that because, passion, drive, and focus together are what make it happen. It's not one, it's not two, it's not one or two out of the three, you guys. And here is a living, breathing example of that, okay? The love of the game, the love of your art, the love of whatever you're creating. Are you a graphic designer? Are you a photographer? Are you cinematography? Are you a car builder? Are you whatever it is, right? The passion of it all is there, right? But where is the work ethic, right? What separates you from all the other people that have the same amount or maybe more love and passion for what they're dedicating themselves to, right? But the drive, the work ethic, the determination, how driven are you to get there, right? Can one person pull you back? Can two people? Or does it take a person grabbing your leg and another leg and someone pulling at your shirt and your face and you are leaning forward and driving forward and clawing at the ground to get towards the goal in front of you, right? That's that drive, right? The work ethic, right? That's like the crux of it. That's the power of it. And then the focus, right? You have statements like, keep your eyes on the prize, don't be distracted. But that's all fine and dandy, but right there, focus, right? The man was so focused. He was so focused that when someone would try to break that, even comically, right? It would anger him. I think an example of that was, I think it's 2009 NBA Finals interview when one of the interviews asked him, why are you not smiling, Kobe? He's sitting up there. He kind of has this like irritated look on his face. You guys can look it up and there's context to it, but he's sitting there and basically it's just like, why are you not, can we get a smile out of you, Kobe? And he looks at the dude. You can see it in his eyes. Why are you not smiling? You're up 2-0. You're up 2-0. Right? Statistically, it's in the bag, right? You just keep doing what you just did the first two and, don't just like, get comfortable and easy with it. But, why are you not smiling? You've got him down 2-0, right? Keep doing the same thing so you can smile. And he just looks at the guy and he's like, is the job finished? And silence, is the job finished? I don't think the job's finished. So what is there to smile for? I mean, everyone's like, oh, what a dick. But think about it. He is so seriously tuned in to what he believes is right then and there in that moment in his life, what the goal is. He's so tuned into it that somebody trying to crack a joke, even if the guy wasn't doing it to poke at him. Even if the guy was just serious, like, hey, man, how come you're not smiling? Everyone's having a good time. You guys are winning. You got this formula down that got the first win and now the second win. They haven't been able to figure it out. You just need one more to, step by step, etc. And he's so tuned in that it's irritating that somebody would try to bring like levity to it, Says the job finished? No. So what do I need to be smiling for? And it just cuts the conversation. So it's this example of how you can come across a certain way. But I mean, he was so focused that until it was done, there's no time for jokes, right? Does that make sense to you guys? He refused to break out of the mindset and the mentality. No camera nonsense, no playing to the media, no cracking a joke. He's focused to the point of irritation at what he considered to be a stupid question, right? And just brush it off, like, get away from me, So this is an example of how dedicated this person was during his time as a player, right? So we have this tragedy, right? And I get it, because it was difficult for me in a certain way. I've never been the type of person to idolize another human being in the same way that other people do. Perhaps it was my upbringing. Perhaps it was just who I've become as a man. But it's different for me because I have friends, family that are my age, my generation, younger, older, and you have people of all walks of life, of all ages, crying. When you hear about the death of a person, it's the death of a person, and then you have a death of multiple people. I mean, objectively and just off of the tragedy of it, it's very sad, right? I've just never been the type to be affected quite so powerfully in the way that other people do. But that doesn't allow me, or I don't allow that to have me lose, all of what's happening around me, right? So we do this episode dedicated to the Mamba mentality, to the other gentleman, his wife, daughter, and all of the people that comprise the 9, right? They're going to do what they want to do. They're on the way to do what they love, okay? And family time, right? So let's talk about the family time. So you have this man who dedicated himself to basketball. And then his daughters, he has, multiple daughters. Apparently one is a volleyball player, second one becomes basketball, third one's a baby. They don't know yet, right? But my point is, let's look at how this legacy was born and how it turned into not just being basketball, but being a good parent. I mean, why is he on a helicopter? So I was listening, right? And he was asked why he was on a helicopter, why he took a helicopter. And the answer was simple. It was to spend more time with his kids. Now, I know that some of us, most of us, if not all of us, aren't going to really relate to the part of the helicopter, but that's not the point. Let's brush that to the side because it isn't about the helicopter. It was about the end. It was about the purpose, the use, and what it was all about for time of life. Okay, so he did it to spend more time with his kids, right? So I was listening to it. This is an example of somebody who is retired. Now, they have a lot of money. They made a lot of money. But here they are. They are no longer active in any sport. So it isn't even recreational. A lot of people who watch basketball, who pay attention to hoopers online, there's guys who go Drew League, there's guys who go play pickup, et cetera, et cetera. Kobe didn't do that, right? But he was explaining his routine now. This is as a retired man, right? So he wakes up, he used to wake up at 4 a.m. And he said he would go and lift weights. And then he would do this workout and then come back and get ready so that he could take the kids to school at 6:30. Okay, this is a retired man. 4 a.m. to wake up and lift weights. I mean, how many of us, if our alarms went off at 4? I actually low-key get up very early, but let's just use 4 a.m. 4 a.m., even if you got up, right, are you going to be able to lift weights? I mean, at 4 a.m., we are moving slowly. Your body hurts. It's cold, And we're talking about 4 a.m., and he would go into a full-blown workout regarding weightlifting. So there's time and stretching and warm-up so you don't injure yourself and you don't just walk in at 4:05 a.m. and just start lifting, right? So whatever his routine was that comprised that weightlifting session, he would finish it so they could come back, get ready, take the kids to school, and then he would go back to work and train in the capacity of the way he was doing it, right? So I guess that would have been more maybe basketball specific, right? And then he would finish that and go back to pick them up. But he was explaining how from where he lived, the commute that he took, 30 minutes if you're lucky, 45 normally, if there's a little bit extra traffic, which is totally normal in LA, Southern California traffic, he said one time he ended up missing a game. And it was just this thing where he didn't like it, right? And he said that his wife would always be like, do you want me to just go pick him up? And he's like, no, I got this. I might be gone, road trip or something. For a lot of this was going on when he was still near the end of his career, but he was still playing, right? So he's just like, I might be gone on a road trip. I don't always get to do it, so I'm here. Let me do it, right? So it turned into this thing where he said he missed a game, right? And he just didn't like that. So what did he do? I mean, granted, yes, it's something that you and I couldn't do. But what we're talking about here is making a choice to do something relatively major simply to be able to take his daughters to school and from school. pick them up. He could spend that moment with them, And that's what he dedicated himself to. You see all these videos of obviously the ones that they're putting out the most are of, Gigi, the one who passed away. But, the simplicity of spending time with the people that you love, whether you're a parent, just your friends. One of the things I'm always talking about, on the live streams on my Instagram, some of the podcast episodes, when it crosses my mind, we talk about it and I just say, you know what, pause the podcast, leave the live stream right now and just call. Don't text them. Somebody, the first person that comes to your mind that you love, call them right now. Just call them. And so people leave the live stream, they do it and they hop back in. Right? Pause the podcast, do it. I'm always about that, because I have observed and had enough heartache in my personal life and observed other people's losses. Something like this now just drives the point home even more painfully. But time is right now, right? The past is past. The future is coming, but it isn't guaranteed. So what do you really have right now? You have the moment right now. What are you doing with that? Because you can always say, I can do it later. And you might be able to do it later. But you might not, right? But you might not. And so you have a person who dedicated themselves, and their actions were an example of the Mamba mentality, of this thinking bigger, of this passion, drive, and focus, right? They're so aligned that this episode is kind of near and dear to me in a different type of way, But these are things that we've talked about with each other. There's a reason why that design exists on the apparel, slab stickers and tees and now jackets. There's a reason why instead of other things, this is the recurring design and those words. It's perfectly in line with the Mamba mentality. And so we dedicate this particular episode to that. There's a certain quote, there's a lot of quotes from Kobe, and we're going to go over some of them. But this is one of my favorites, okay? Just focus in on this one, okay? Quote, "Those times when you get up early and you work hard. Those times you stay up late and you work hard. Those times when you don't feel like working. You're too tired. You don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream." Did you hear it? One more time. Okay. Those times when you get up early and you work hard. Those times you stay up late and you work hard. Those times when you don't feel like working. You're too tired. You don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. Do you see what he's saying? It's all about the work. It's about the work. Right? He's not talking about those times when you worked hard and you achieved your goal. Those times when you got up early and you won that award or we got the championship. It's not the focus in this context is not the end accomplishment. It's the process. Those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway, that is actually the dream. He told people when he was retiring that the dream is the work. It's the process. The dream is not the accomplishment. That is actually the dream. Okay, that's one of my favorites because he has driven home the point that I love to drive home with you guys and with myself, as we all go through this life journey and the different things that we're doing. It's the work. Okay, you can have all the passion in the world. You can have all the ideas in the world. You can have all the vision. Okay, but if you are not willing to lose friends and be viewed by people as this and that, hateful things, right? You are disliked by your peers because you are so focused and so dedicated to something that anyone who does not match that focus is a burden on you that you end up wanting to get rid of. Okay? It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Everyone's going to say that's a little much. I mean, those are your teammates. Those are your friends. Those are your family. Those are whatever, right? You can't just do that. But if you always allow the outside circumstances, whether they be people or not, to tone down your focus, you'll never get there. Okay? He was talking about the work. That is actually the dream. In the midst of it all, people remember his will to win, his extreme work ethic, and his anger at others who didn't focus as hard as he did. You know, he came across as a bad person many times. Okay? But you have other prime athletes, the best in the world, Olympians, NBA players, saying he worked harder than everyone else. You have megastars in the NBA who are already megastars, right? And they said that they worked out with him, or they were on the Olympics with him, and they worked out together one time, and they were like, yeah, that dude is insane. And so many of the biggest stars who ended up becoming, friends of his, or, you have these other people who say that, he was their mentor. They said that they worked out with him after, and they got better. These people were already stars, already excelling in the top tier of their particular field. And they said that by watching him, it made them want to be better. And then working out with the ones who were of the age and the generation where they had the opportunity to, they said, if you wanted to, you would tune in and it would make you better. But then again, you have the people. Remember, his mindset was so crazy, right? That if you didn't step up, if you didn't try, he was going to talk shit to you. He was going to be like, you get away from me, like you're a cancer, right? There's stars we're talking about. There's stars talking about when they were playing Portland. I think it was Portland. And they were blown out. They got blown out. And the players were talking about, oh, dude, he went and took their shoes. They were the ones who were wearing Kobe's shoes. And he took them from these are grown men, and he took their shoes. He took the shoes of other grown men because they were his namesake shoes, right? And he said, you guys are soft. You don't even deserve to wear the shoes that have my name on it. And he took it from them. And nobody did a damn thing about it. And that indicates a few things. One, of course, it indicates that mindset. He's so angry. He's so focused, and they lose so badly that his mindset is you guys want to wear my shoes because of what? Fashion? Because of what? You're definitely not wearing them because you're trying to win. You guys are soft. And he took it from him. So it shows the extreme mentality. But then it also shows the respect, because these are big dudes, right? And with some of them might even have been bigger and older than him. And they could have been like, listen, man, I get what you're trying to say, but you're not taking my damn shoes. Like, the principle, fine, but you're not taking my shoes, man. I get it. Nobody did that. Because that was the respect. He took it from him. There are a couple people talking about it recently, and they were just like, oh, he didn't just take it. He took that shit and threw it across the room, man. Threw it in the trash. And you just sit there, and that's like the OG. That's the big brother. Like, you don't say a damn thing, right? Is that extreme? Right now, those of you listening, would you be okay if somebody did that? You have to ask yourself. But the question is not really much of a question, because I think almost everyone in here are just like, nah, man, hell no. But that is an example, okay? That is a real life example, and people are just like, oh yeah, man, he took them, threw them shits across the room, threw it in the trash, because he said we were soft, we don't deserve it. And everyone just, took it on the chin. They just had to deal with it. But what's the point? What's the point? We're talking about a legacy. We're talking about a legacy that was built over years of hard work, okay? And in his retirement, he was just spending time with his daughters, spending time with his kids. So that quote that I gave you guys, that is one of my favorite quotes. It is powerful, and the focus of what he was talking about is all hard work, okay? And I love it, right? So let's look at some of his other quotes, because there's a lot of really, really good ones, okay? Let's use this one. I see the beauty in getting up in the morning and being in pain because I know all the hard work that it took to get to this point. So I'm not sad about it. I'm very appreciative. I'm very appreciative of what I've had. So you're talking about now at this particular age, right? I mean, obviously he wasn't an older man, but what I'm talking about is in the case of being an athlete, he's in pain. He says, joints hurt. All of us listening, some of the younger people listening, you're not going to really understand. But when you get older, stuff hurts. You get up in the morning, it could be 7 a.m., it could be 4 a.m., but whenever you get up, you stand up and you're like, yikes, man, something cracks, something pops, and you have to stretch and you're just like, yikes, man. When you're younger, no, that's not there, But as you get older, things start to hurt, okay? So he says that. I see the beauty in getting up in the morning and being in pain because I know all the hard work that it took to get to this point. He embraced the pain. I earned the pain. So I'm not sad about it. I'm appreciative of what I've had. I like it, right? I like it. Do you guys get what I'm saying here? How does that apply to your life? How can you apply that to you, right? And here's one that was very personal. It was very real. He said, I have self-doubt. I have insecurity. I have fear of failure. I have nights when I show up at the arena and I'm like, my back hurts, my feet hurt, my knees hurt. I don't have it. I just want to chill. We all have self-doubt, he said. You don't deny it, but you also don't capitulate to it. You don't give in to it. You don't accept it. You embrace it, okay? You're talking about somebody who, if you read the quotes of all these younger players, other athletes and stars and et cetera, they are talking about him as if he did not have an ounce of fear. There's coaches that say that in my 10, 12, 15, 20, 30 years of being in basketball, I've only seen a handful of men who, if you look them in the eye, you got scared. When you look them in the eye, they brought fear out of you in other players. And he said Kobe was one of them. This is the type of person that you have other people talking about. But here he is saying, I have self-doubt. I have insecurity. I have fear of failure. Okay? But he said you don't deny it, but you don't give in to it. You embrace it and you go, right? I have nights when I show up at the arena and my back hurts, my feet hurt, my knees hurt. I don't have it. I just want to chill. Okay, what is the arena in your life? I have nights when I show up at the arena and X, Y, and Z hurts. What about you? The arena, it could be specifically your workplace. It could be specifically your home, right? But think of that. What is it in your life that you show up to and you're just like, dude, I'm hurting right now. I don't have it today or just right now, right? It's easy to apply that to say like the gym, right? You get up, you need to get some gym time in. You want to keep your body active and moving, exercise, whether that be cardio or lifting or whatever. But I mean, we all know you have nights or mornings when you wake up and you show up at the arena, the gym, and you're just like, oh, dude, I'm hurting right now. I don't have it in me. I don't really want to take this pre-workout. I mean, I'll take it. Maybe I should take 2 scoops or drink 2 of these. But he was talking about willpower. Instead of all those other things, he said it's there, you don't deny it, but you don't give in, you embrace it and go. And that's what he did. You have other players and other people that are far more genetically gifted, right? You have people who could jump higher, who could run faster. You have people who have maybe higher percentage shooting, etc. But what we are talking about here isn't that. We are talking about willpower, the mentality, the Mamba mentality. It was so driven and so focused and so willing to outwork anyone that no one thought that he had any fear in him. Okay? And here's another quote. When we are saying that this cannot be accomplished, this cannot be done, then we are shortchanging ourselves. My brain, it cannot process failure. It will not process failure. Because if I have to sit there and face myself and tell myself, you're a failure, I think that is worse. That is almost worse than death. Okay? Here he is talking about failing, looking yourself in the mirror and saying you're a failure. He felt like that was almost worse than death. Okay? When we are saying that something cannot be accomplished, that something cannot be done, you are shortchanging yourselves. I'm always talking about that. When you think bigger, you can dream bigger. When you think bigger, you can accomplish bigger things. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you have a small dream and that you accomplish it. Because then you get to this point where you're like, look at what I've accomplished. And that dream, your personal accomplishment, is great. And then you take yourself out of the comfort of your bubble and you put that against the other people that you aspire to be like or who have accomplished other things. And the dangerous thing is that it's going to look entirely different when you get out of your own head and put it up against the bigger picture. That's what the Think Bigger project is also trying to make us all realize, is there is a bigger picture, right? So what are those other sayings? I would rather aim for how does that saying even go? I would rather aim for the stars, and if I miss, I might land on the moon. Something like that, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? The point being is that if you aim way up there, just way up there, the worst case, if you are just doing everything you can to hit this massive high goal, if you fall short, look at where falling short of something that powerful and major is. But if you aim to accomplish something, cute, something mediocre, imagine if you fall short of that. You know what I'm saying? He said, dedication sees dreams come true. What is dedication? That is work ethic. That is perseverance. Dedication is your drive. Are you dedicated to making this happen no matter what? He didn't say passion sees dreams come true. He said dedication. Okay? Are you guys with me here? There's so much to be remembered, and it is always something terrible, a tragedy that shakes us, okay? It doesn't always have to be that way. We know this podcast is a way to help shake up things in your own world. You tune in, you download it, and you listen. And the feedback that I get on a daily basis from the listeners, from all of you guys, as you listen to some of these topics and community conversations with the guests, and people are talking about their life stories and the responses, is I know that this mindset and way of thinking and thinking bigger and seeing the bigger picture. I know it's taking hold of many of you guys, and it makes me happy. It makes me proud that we are all growing together as people. So let's continue some of these epic, profound quotes that people referenced before he passed away, but so much more now that he did. Okay, so we're talking about being so focused and so driven, right? Earlier, that people might not even like you, right? And he said, I have nothing in common with lazy people who blame others for their lack of success. Great things come from hard work and perseverance. No excuses. Okay? I have nothing in common with lazy people who blame others for their lack of success. Blame others. There's an episode coming up later, which, I've had this type of topic in my mind for so long, and there's so many things that have happened that's its own episode. But the idea of blaming others is you saying that it's because of them. It's because of my circumstances. It's because of other people or other things. That is a victim mentality. You are stating that someone or something else is to blame for you not getting to where you wanted to go, for you not accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish. And that is, by definition, being a victim. The victim mentality is a very psychologically deep, profound problem, and it's applicable in so many ways. Okay, we'll talk about that more. He said great things come from hard work. Once again, he's talking about the work part and perseverance, your drive, your determination. Okay? So, hard work, habits, right? Success is a habit. That's what all of these mega profoundly rich and powerful and intelligent, influencers and geniuses and moguls and entrepreneurs and businessmen and investors and all these things, you can read all the quotes you want in the world, and there's going to be a recurring theme. It's going to be about, success is a habit, right? It's not an end, it's a habit. So, another quote from Kobe is, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? You shot that shot hundreds and thousands of times. You just shoot another one. But how does that apply to what I'm talking about? It is practice. It's hard work. It is the process. And because of that, when you hit a moment of pressure, it is not a moment of pressure, because you know that you have done that before. You have studied for it. You have practiced for it. You are prepared for it. You have worked so that in that moment, the pressure is not what you're thinking about. You are doing something that you have done hundreds and thousands of times. If you need to get up at 4 a.m., the first time you do it and you try to go work out, it is going to be brutal. You're going to hurt. You're going to be cold. You're going to feel like you're not moving any kind of way. You're not accomplishing much, right? But if you have gotten up at 4 a.m. hundreds of times, thousands of times, you're going to get up and you're going to hop up and you're going to go, right? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So I value these quotes and these sections of these quotes in different ways, because we can use them for our lives, for the way we do things, right? So it's hard. It's hard. It's that our life is difficult at times, trying to navigate it, trying to figure out how to do what we want to do, be who we want to be. It's difficult, If it was easy for everyone, if everyone had the personality type where they could just, brush things off, if somebody hurts them, they just kind of let it, it affects me, and then they get over it. There's some people who are more charismatic and more extroverted. They do well in social circles. They can carry on a conversation. They can make people laugh. And then there are the people who don't really know how to do that. They're not unintelligent. You're not awkward. It's just different for you or for them, right? Introverted, just a little more shy, don't really know, how to navigate those types of social scenarios, right? It's just everyone's different, okay? But we're not victims to that set of circumstances in the sense of, I know, I'm a shy person. I don't know how to talk to a woman or go up to her. Or I don't know how to ask for a raise at my job. Or I don't know how to propose. Or I don't know how to sit down and have that conversation about the birds and the bees with my child, It's awkward. But you know what? You're not a victim. You can realize that you may be one type of personality more so than another type. But as an adult, you can exercise that self-awareness and move forward. You're not a victim to it. You can change that, right? You see what I'm saying? And you can do that, right? You can do that if you so choose. Okay, you can do that if you so choose. It's hard though, right? But it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be frustrated. Scream, cry, sulk, right? But you just don't stop there. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Are you with me? He even said it himself. This is a quote. Be sad, be mad, be frustrated, scream, cry, sulk. When you wake up, you will think that it was just a nightmare only to realize that it's all too real. You will be angry and wish for the day back, the game back, that play back. But reality gives nothing back, and nor should you. So whether it be a basketball play, a moment with a person, with a family member, a conversation, anything, you wish that it could have been better. You wish you did something differently. Be mad. Be sad, be frustrated, scream, cry, sulk. When you wake up, you will think that it was a nightmare, but it's real. You will be angry and wish for the day back, for that moment back, but reality gives nothing back, and nor should you. What is the point of that quote? The point is there are going to be times that you mess up. There are going to be times that we've all messed up, and we're going to do it again. And if you want to be sad about it and be mad about it, that's okay. If you want to be frustrated, you want to scream about it, you want to cry about it, you want to sulk and whine about it, do it. But get the fuck over it, okay? It's real. Reality is not going to give you that moment back. So what do? You work hard and train for the next moment. You can't just have a moment happen and then say, oh, that was painful, brutal. I can never experience that again. I refuse to. And then not do anything about it. And then not go and specifically address what you need to address so that if or when something like that arises again, you are prepared. But isn't that what we all do? Think about it. There's these things that happen in our lives. And in that moment, or after that moment, we are angry. We are sad. We're yelling or we're crying. And we're just like, man, never again, never again. But isn't it interesting how somehow it seems that those types of scenarios happen again? And for some of us who are listening right now, maybe not just once in a while, but oddly, it just seems like those types of scenarios happen often. At that point, we need to step back and look and say, am I really doing something about it? Am I really taking that embarrassment, that frustration, that anger, that sadness? Am I using that? Or am I just having my emotional spectrum, feeling the way I feel, and then after those emotions simmer down, am I really going forward and doing something with it? Think about it, right? Think about it. I mean, the mindset, if you have your mind so tuned in to what you are trying to accomplish, everything else just sort of bounces off of you. Okay? Just bounces off of you. There's this good story, where I believe one of the players was talking about, they were on the court, and he was up against Michael Jordan. And MJ said to him, "You can wear the shoes, but you can't fill them." He might have been speaking, I don't even remember the game. So, Kobe, when he was younger, wore Jordan shoes. So maybe that game he was literally wearing the shoes. Maybe Jordan was using that moment to talk shit to him and get in his head, right? But he said to him, and it's both a literal and a figurative, punch in the face. He said, "You can wear the shoes, but you can't fill them." People who were there, people who knew Kobe, said he was so fucking pissed. He was so angry. He didn't even talk to his teammates for 2 weeks. He was so angered at that statement, that you can wear the shoes, but you can't fill them. You're not the next me. It's just a look. You wear the shoes, but you'll never be me, right? He was so angered by that disrespect. He didn't even talk to his own teammates for 2 weeks. And then the next time that he met up with Jordan and the Wizards, he dropped 55 points. What's the point of that? Think about it. Have you had something in your life happen that you are so angry about it? But did you zone in so hardcore on how you were going to fix that or address that, that you didn't even want to talk to people, that you just turn your phone off or shut people out? I mean, yes, I understand if you have children, if you have a husband or wife, if you have people, it's the first thing that your mind is probably doing is like, no, man, I can't cut people off. And I get it. But you also have to understand that might put you in a position where you're not going to be able to do what someone who's willing to just be so tuned in and focused. They're so driven and so focused that the disrespect of someone, anyone, much less the person that you're aiming for, to just look at you and be like, you'll never do that. You'll never be me. He was so angry. And he zoned in to whatever he needed to do. They said he watched tape and practice and watched film and watched and practice and practice. Oh, boom. Sees them again. And he embraces that moment. Drops 55 points. Okay? He didn't talk to his teammates for 2 weeks. And when I was reading that and kind of remembering that whole thing, it kind of tied into something that I've read a little bit more recently. There's this rise of entrepreneurship and rise of everyone needs to start a business and everyone needs to make their own way. And I love it. I love that that's a thing now. But once again, I'm always expressing to people, especially you younger people listening to me, tune in to what the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. Listen to what I'm saying. You guys, listen to me. The danger of social media and the danger of all of these YouTubers and all of these people telling you that is that what is not being included in that is the hard work. Okay? You have this man, this megastar, this global megastar, and it was hard work that he was focusing on. If you try to apply that to a more personal or contemporary angle, like let's say everyone wants to be a vlogger and a YouTuber now, right? You have these YouTubers that started how many years ago, and you have these 10, 20 YouTubers that are just massively big and have these followings, and you have all these kids. You ask all these kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a YouTuber. They don't understand that they're going to have a camera and or phone in their face and in their friends' faces and just out recording everything that they do, and then they or someone else has to edit it and put it out consistently. The work side of it, the loss of friends, real friends, right? The sacrifice, that's not brought up. okay? But the wealthy ones, the investors, all these people, it ties into what I was talking about, where he, the story of how he was so pissed he didn't talk to his teammates for 2 weeks. He put his head down and did what he believed he needed to do, whatever that work process was, for 2 weeks. And the two kind of brought me up to this quote, or this like saying that I've read a few different times about business, from business pages and like the Explore page on Instagram or whatever. And they're talking about how many of these entrepreneurs, they're like, if you're trying to build something, a business, a brand, whatever, basically you put your head down and you work for 2 years before you even look up. And so when I was reading this story and reminiscing about this story about when Jordan said to him, you can wear the shoes, but you can't fill them. And he was so pissed, he didn't talk to anyone for 2 weeks. It reminded me about reading this quote from this successful, businessman who said, when you're trying to start it, man, you put, it 2 to 5 years. And for 2 years, you put your head down and you work. You don't talk to people. You don't go out. You don't spend a dollar or a cent on anything that is not dedicated solely to what you're trying to accomplish. For 2 years, you don't even look up. You just work. And it just clicked. Okay? Now you hear a story about Kobe not talking to his teammates for 2 weeks. Okay. It's a story. It's 2 weeks, right? But when you say 2 years, how many people listening to that are like, oh, come on now? How many of us are willing to not socialize and not keep up with fashion trends and, having the newest laptop or phone, iPhone or Android or tablet or newest flat screen smart TV for the house or car parts, jewelry? I don't know. Anything, apply it. How many of us are willing to stop even going out to eat and meeting up with people, just tuning out the world for 2 years and doing nothing but work on your business, your I don't know if you're training your body, your lungs, your muscles, your mindset, right? Your business, your family. Let's say you want to dedicate yourself to your family. I think a lot of times we're immediately applying this to some way to make money. We're thinking about money, right? Business is about making money. I'm not even talking about that. Think bigger than that. Move the application and the laser, the red dot of the laser on some other target. Think about it. Like, let's say you have a child. It's your first child. Second child, fifth child, whatever. But you now have this epiphany and this revelation where you're taking these words from this podcast and from your life experience and you're applying it. You're like, I want to be the best parent I can be. If that is the goal, are you willing to lose your personal wants, your friends, your whatever it is that you love? Are you willing to just tune them out, turn them off for any amount of time, much less something like 2 years before you even look up from what you're focusing on? Powerful, extreme. That's the word that comes to mind, is it's extreme. But that's why there are those who make it and those who don't, because they are willing to go to the extreme by definition of the average man. Are you guys with me right now? There's so many quotes, man. There's so many quotes from a lot of people, but here we are, Kobe, right? There's so many more quotes, right? And all of these are they're so applicable to all of these things that, unfortunately, it comes from a place of loss now, right? So here we are. I know you guys can apply this to your own lives. How many of us have been at a wedding or a funeral? And that's when you see family or old friends. And that's what brought you guys together. It's usually something like a wedding or a funeral. oh man, I haven't seen each other in a while, and it's that tie that binds that person or people that are married. You guys knew one or both of them, and see each other at the wedding or the reception. But most often, what really makes people put aside their differences, and even if they didn't have differences, or just rearranging their time, reprioritizing, it's a funeral. You go to a funeral of a family member or a friend, and you see family members and or friends that you haven't seen. You guys see each other, you shake hands, you hug it out. You say, we should spend more time with each other. We should reconnect, because you're there because someone died. Someone that you both know died personally. Here we have a person that affected millions of people. There were children who went to school and thought about nothing but getting home to play basketball in the front yard, and shooting a basket or a rolled up piece of paper. Kobe. There's a reason for that. That legacy is there for a reason, and it was the work ethic. He said, I want to learn how to become the best in the world, and if I'm going to learn that, I have to learn from the best. Kids go to school to be doctors or lawyers, so forth and so on, and that's where they study. My place is to study from the best. My place to study is from the best. So he studied the best in his field. Okay? He said, I want to see if I can. I don't know if I can. I want to find out. I want to see. I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to break it down to its smallest form, smallest detail, and go after that, day by day, one day at a time. Are you guys with me? If you have some goal, it looks so hard, it looks so big, it looks so far away, right? But you have to break it down. And that comes from a day by day, moment by moment, right? He said, I want to see if I can. I don't know if I can. So even in this example of extreme mentalities and focus, right? He's not even saying, oh, I know I can. I know I can do it. He's saying, I want to see if I can. I don't know if I can, but I want to find out. I want to see if I can. And I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to break it down into small pieces, into its smallest form, its smallest detail, and I'm going to go after that day by day, one day at a time. So that was his process, was to break it down piece by piece and then address it piece by piece. If you have this daunting task in your life, try to step back. And yes, the size of this task, of this goal, is scary. That's okay. But you go at it strategically, piece by piece. You know what I'm saying? So, here we are, each in our own lives. As time passes, people will stop bringing it up so much. You'll see it less on social media. And inevitably, it'll generally fade out of people's minds. Okay? It will. That's the nature of things, right? You just had the Super Bowl, and there was, a moment there. And, those are other major athletes that knew him, that followed him. So, it's still kind of brought up. But just give it some time, and we all know, there are other tragedies and other major events in our world, from, politics and economy, taxes. It's tax season, right? There's all these other things, and it'll fade, right? Except for the people that were closest to him. But the value, the lessons, okay, the gems, the quotes, and what you do with them, they can be and they will remain as powerful as you want them to be. Okay? Because you have control over that. You have control over what you do with our life lessons and what you do with your life. Okay? That's what the Think Bigger Project's all about. okay? The Think Bigger Project. You guys go to the website when you read the blurb, it is to teach us to think bigger. Because when we better ourselves as individuals, we are then in a better place to make the community around us better. As we become better individuals, we can better the community and the culture around us. And Kobe had a statement. He said, the most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great at whatever they want to do. And that, amongst all these other things, is another way that the mindset, the mentality parallels the Mamba mentality, the Think Bigger Project mentality, passion, drive, and focus to help us as individuals become better people so that we can in turn help those around us and better the community that we are a part of. The most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great at whatever they want to do. You aspire to inspire others. Your aspirations and goals are to be the type of person and live a life and say and do the things that will inspire other people so that they can be great at whatever they want to do. That's why I relate so deeply to it. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. There are people who hate and people who dislike and people who will shrug it all off. But whether it be this particular individual or another or someone in your life that none of us will ever know about, a tiny, tiny name compared to someone who was on TV and magazines and all that stuff. Let's not let the profundity, the depth, the lesson, the value get lost in the details of who it was and if they were famous or rich or not. That's not what this is about, okay? This is about us working on ourselves, living lives, and aiming to be better people. And when we do that, we are in a better place to be able to then help those around us. You can't help others if you can't even help yourself, okay? The most important thing is to try and inspire people so they can be great at whatever they want to do. That's why one of those designs that came out recently was me thinking about this. And this was long before I even knew about this particular quote and the death and all that. This is just aspire to inspire. You aspire to inspire others. And he said it right there. The most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great at whatever they want to do. The Think Bigger Project, the Think Bigger podcast is for us to inspire people and each other so that we can be great at whatever we want to do. It isn't about basketball. It isn't about being a parent. It isn't about making money. Those are just examples. Those are just literal applications of a mindset and a way of living and working on ourselves as people. That's what it's about. It's about working on ourselves as people, okay? And so that we can inspire other people so that we can have a legacy, even if that legacy is with our children, 1 child, 2 children, our spouses, our family, our circle of friends, whether big or small. How will we be remembered? Will we be remembered in a good way or a bad way for those that matter, for those that knew? Because what we do now is what it will be when the time ends and people look back. Because think about it. What happened before we can look back and remember on, it's the past memories, right? And what we talk about in the future, that's not guaranteed. We don't know whether it be a automotive incident, crash, right? Whether it be health concerns, right? You never know. You just never know, okay? But everyone says, I want to be remembered like this. Like, I want people to remember that. How you are now, what you're working on, what you do now is what you will be remembered for. Why? Because now is the only moment you have. The past is gone. You can't go back. You can't do anything with it. Right now, what you do to be looked at then when you're gone is what you're doing right now at this moment. Because now is what it will be when the time ends and people look back. The now is constant. And you are constantly having the opportunity. We are constantly being given the opportunity to move forward and move like the people we want to be like. Every moment that passes was a now that was guaranteed and becomes the past, which is gone. We talk about the future a lot. People talk about the future a lot. But that's over there. And you don't even know if it's coming. What you have is right now. That's why I tell people, stop what you're doing right now and call someone. Don't text them. Don't send them a GIF. Don't send them an emoji, a Bitmoji. Don't send them a link. Don't send them a video. Just call them so they hear your voice and you tell them, I love you. You're important to me. I'm going to come see you, etc. Now is what we have. Everyone wants to talk about being remembered. You will be remembered for what you are doing right now. So you have to change the way that you think. You have to think bigger, and you create this mindset and this mentality so that you can go in the direction. You are not a victim to the circumstances. You can go in the direction that you want to go. And if something were to end early, God forbid, right there in that moment, the people who know will know that you were doing what you wanted and needed to do for yourself, for your goals, for your family, for where your heart and your mind is. But if you're not actively doing it now, in the moment that you have, which is the only moment that you have guaranteed, is the now, right now. If you're not doing those things now, you are wasting your life, literally. So, think bigger, dream bigger, accomplish bigger, work on yourself. We better ourselves, we can help the community, we can better the community around us. Think Bigger Project, Think Bigger Podcast, dedicated to the 9 lives lost and to Kobe and Gigi. Mamba Mentality, Think Bigger Mindset. Okay? I love you guys. I appreciate you. I will see you on the next podcast. Thank you.